When you have a child with special needs, you are expecting the normal child. But when we get our children and they don't cry like the other children, or they don't do what is expected in the community, inside there as a parent, unaanza kukufa. Maybe you may not realize it, but there is a slow death that happens inside you because it is a loss.
Let's speak to that parent there. First and foremost, yule ambaye anafikiria when they have that child and the child is born, and all of a sudden they realize the child has needs. And in their mindset, they start thinking, my child is bewitched. She's a curse. He's a curse. Hello, my name is Jeff from Safeguarding Watoto, and today we have a special, beautiful interview with an amazing woman of God that we are about to meet, who is going to share her story about who she is really and why we've come to do this video today. Na kwa wale ambaye ni Wakenya ambaye tunaongea lugha ya Kiswahili, asanteni na karibuni sana kwa video ya siku ya leo. Tunakutana na mgeni wetu wa siku ya leo ambaye anakuja kusimulia kuhusu special needs za watoto and tuko wapi especially katika Africa and 254 Kenya. Na so and without much further ado, so let us introduce our guest. Karibu sana Mary.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Safeguarding Watoto. And thank you for visiting me. My name is Mary Kemani. A mother of 6 lovely young people, 4 young ladies and 2 gentlemen. And our eldest daughter, Shiko, was born with several challenges. And she's the one who introduced us as a family into the world of disability, because she had several challenges and we had to grapple as a family with ways and means to meet these challenges. She's now 29 years old.
Wonderful. So thank you. Maybe before tuendelee zaidi, maybe unaweza kuambia, safeguarding family around the world, especially hapa Kenya. What is your profession? What do you do?
That's an interesting question. I'm actually a vet by profession, turned into a special needs education professional, courtesy of Helen Keller Institute in the United States, where they trained me on matters supporting children with multisensory challenges. And so I've done special needs education. I've also done guidance and counseling, because I began to grapple with issues of relationships in a family that has a child with special needs, and also in relationships of children with special needs being in institutions. So I went ahead and got into guidance and counseling. But the last 10 years plus, I've invested a lot in psychosocial life skills, which I thought were more easy to access, easy to teach, and easy to share with the community. Because guidance and counseling is very, very expensive. It's an expensive practice. But once you understand a psychosocial life skills package or a session or a life skill, it's easy for you to understand, internalize, audit yourself as to where you are in terms of that life skill, and at the same time, be able to begin to look towards a desired behavior. It's actually a behavior change initiative. And so you're able to audit yourself, like where am I on issues self-awareness? Where am I on issues of managing emotions? Where am I on issues of being assertive? So once I understand what is assertiveness, how do I relate to issues assertive? Am I passive? Am I aggressive? Then how is that affecting my current relationship? And if it is not positive, if I'm not happy with my assertiveness, then what do I need to do to change to be more assertive? And so you can work towards a desired behavior. And in the process, once I internalize my behavior change issues or what I need to change, then it's easy to meet my next door neighbor who has a special needs child or who's just a friend of mine who is struggling with being assertive or saying no. And so it's easy for me to pass on that information to her, and she learns how to say no, and she begins to practice how to say no, and she can see the impact in her day-to-day relationships within her family, and consequently, eventually, her child with special needs will be able to see how mommy says no and watch how mommy says no and begin to learn to also how to say no. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful, wonderful.
yeah.
But maybe before we go that far, umetuambia, for the sake of those who are hearing Swahili, umetuambia ulikuwa vet. How did you transit from vet ukaingia kwa special needs? So how did you do that?
Shiko, ule mtoto wetu wa kwanza, this is first born in sign language.
Yeah.
Alizaliwa na shida ya kuona, shida ya kusikia, shida ya roho, shida ya kutembea, na mwili wake ni mdogo. So her milestones zilikuwa slow.
Yeah.
But after a while she picked up. So Mungu akatuwezesha tukaweza akapasuliwa macho. Sasa anatumia glasses thick.
Okay.
Her heart, daktari alisema tuache because it wasn't, she has like a hole that had not closed.
A mama.
Yeah, so we were told to leave. So ukimwona shikuwa kona kamwili kadogo, but otherwise she's fully okay. We just use sign language now. But when she was small, as she was gaining her milestones, no school would accept Shiku. So tulikuwa naenda hii shule, hawamchukui hii shule, hawataki hii shule. So eventually we reached a point where God, in his own miraculous ways, God introduced me to a lady. She's British, married to a Kenyan gentleman. Now they're in Britain, both of them. And she literally held our hands as a 5 parents. Tulikuwa na shida, watoto wetu, similar challenges. Our children are at home, they're not going to school. So akatueleza, mkishikana kama wazazi, mtengeneze support group. First support each other in your relationships at home. So tulikuwa natembeleana. This month tunaenda kwangu, next month tunaenda kwa mwenzetu, hivyo. Na tukikuja kwako, tunaangalia vile unalea mtoto wako, tunakusaidia because some of them were older parents, na tueleza kitembea hivi, sasa fanya hizi exercises, chakula yake tengeneza hivi, sign language, be encouraged and learn your sign language. So we were just supporting each other. But then she did something else which I really love doing now, even with life skills. She encouraged us to dream.
Indeed.
If there are no limitations, what would you like for your children? So we had a family dream and we had a collective dream. And God is faithful. I think within 2 months of doing those dreams, we got funding from Care Kenya. And we were able to start the first deaf-blind unit ya watoto walie na deaf blindness in Nairobi. And we ran it for a couple of years as parents, and it grew. And we needed teachers. So ilibidi tuulize government, that was Moi's time, tupatie walimu. Tukaambiwa ukiwa private institution hatuwezi kukupatia walimu. Lazima upeleke institution yako kwa public school ndio upate walimu. So we chose to move the deaf-blind unit to Kilimani because already there was a visually impaired unit, and you see this is a deaf-blind, so there's a relationship. And so today, if you go to Kilimani Primary School in Nairobi, there are 2 units, one for the visually impaired, one for the deaf-blind. The deaf-blind one is the one we started as parents at St. Christopher's Preparatory. Alafu tukaileta Kilimani deaf-blind. So in the process of running that unit, running the funding, I moved from being a vet into matters managing special needs and programs for special needs children, as well as parent support groups. Because the funding that we got from Care Kenya enabled us to run a basic education project to grow our organization as a parent support group, and also to begin to reach out to other institutions and organizations for networking and resource mobilization purposes. So literally ni kama Mungu tu alinibeba akanionyesha vile utalea mtoto wako na akanilipa kulea mtoto wangu.
So kuna mtu anaweza kuuliza so bado unafanya vet ama sasa ushaingia katika mambo ya special needs?
Nikikupenda sana nitafanya vet. Ukiniita kwako nitakuja, bado nafanya.
Lakini sasa your heart,
my heart
iko
is
katika watoto,
kulea watoto, yes, kulea watoto na familia sana. Nahisi mama na baba wa mtoto aliye mlemavu akishindwa, akilemewa na mtoto analemewa zaidi. So if you can invest in encouraging and building up the parents' capacity to bring up their own child in a dignified manner, even if they are from a poor background, if you can, God can enable each family in a dignified way to bring up their own child. I think that's where my heart is. That's what I would love to do.
Wonderful. My safeguarding families around the world, asanteni sana, thank you so very much. Now I think you are getting inspired by hearing that this is a professional who was a vet, a qualified vet, but then decided to come into the world of people with needs, because there are a lot of vets, and of course there are also people that support. But sisi kama tutakuja pamoja na tuweze bridge the gap for people who have needs, we must have individuals with such a spirit, wonderful spirit. And thank you very much for kuwa na huo upendo wa kutaka to migrate from vet to kuja kusaidia watoto, people with needs, generally. So, but maybe we would like to ask a question of what are the challenges? What are the challenges that Mary and your team are facing here in Kenya? Well, issues relating with funding, resources, availability, community. What are the challenges that you are facing?
Wow, thank you, Jeff. That's a huge question. I hope I can be clear on this. As Shiko has grown, we have gone through as a family through school institutions, hospitals, in the community, working with private institutions and all that. And as a country, we have also grown, grappling with, I remember when Shiko was small, we couldn't even enter the Ministry of Education and ask for help. But it has grown to a level where now the Ministry of Education has a special needs directorate targeting issues and matters of children with special needs in the country. I would also say I have seen institutions grow, and we have all kinds of institutions in Kenya. We have special needs institutions, we have inclusive settings, we have integrated settings, we have also settings where we just have one disability in one institution, all kinds. And even now there's this other, my friend Eva was now talking of converting her institution into an institution that does reverse integration. That means now, or in reverse inclusion, that means now it was an institution for special needs children, but now they are encouraging regular children to come in, which is the opposite of what is normally happens, that we have a regular institution that is encouraging special needs children to come in. I have worked with Life Skills running programs for special needs children. And I remember one program that we ran in Dagoretti, where we helped all Dagoretti schools do an inclusion audit of themselves, where they were looking at what are their capacities for children with special needs to access their institutions, to access learning, to access the other learners. And we found that very illuminating. We still have that information, and it's I know Life Skills is very willing to share that with even other organizations. The most, for me, I still remember this was so amazing, was that every institution had a third to a quarter of its learners with special needs.
Okay.
When we were doing vet medicine, and I think for human medicine, this is also true, and this is good information for a parent to know. The child comes from the multiplication of a father's cell and a mother's cell becoming one, and it multiplies. And God, as God would have it, one bit of the cell decides to form teeth, one bit of the cell forms hair, one bit of the cell forms legs, and whatever. And this is critical for us because why is it that you don't have teeth growing on the hair and you don't have legs growing on the head? That's a miracle. Every child that is alive is a miracle. Every living child that is alive is a miracle, whether with special needs or with not. It is a gift from God. It is a child that God has allowed to live because there are many that don't even live. And for me, I believe that every child that is alive, God has a purpose for it. And actually, the Bible says we are fearfully, wonderfully made in His image. Yes, blind, yes, but in His image. Not walking, yes, but reflecting a part of God. So I believe as parents, our work is to help our children first and foremost realize that they were brought to this earth for a purpose. Whatever their capacities, whatever their abilities, there is a reason why that child is alive. Our work as a parent is to walk with God, to help this child find out, why am I alive? And to do that as a parent, you have to be so secure yourself as a person in terms of who are you? Why are you alive? Why are you on this earth? So that you can also begin to help your child take the journey of finding out, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? And what is my purpose? So that is our goal. As a parent, you may need extra help because you have this maybe grieving that you're doing, that you have this special needs child. You may need extra help to grieve, to get rid of the pain, to go through the questions and the fears and the anxieties. You may need professional help, but it is you as a parent to know, this is where I am. This is where I want to go with my child. And these are the people I can bring into my life and to the lives of my child so that we can reach where I think God wants us to go. Even to see that vision of where God wants us to go, it may need sometimes professional help. Because I remember when we were running the deaf blind unit, there's a lady, the same lady, the British lady, she's called Penny. She took us through an exercise where she made us deaf and blind like our children. And she told us, go and get food, come and eat, and then let's go into the next session. By the time we were going to the next session, all of us as parents, we were in tears because we realized, yeah, looking for food when you can't see, you can't talk and ask for help, what it entails. We realized what our children were going through. So sometimes as a parent, yes, you have this child, but you may need help to understand this child that you have and where this child can go. And it is up to us as parents to just trust God to help us in this journey of understanding our children and helping our children take their journey to where I believe God has a reason for them to be alive.
Amen to that. So thank you so very much for that. But briefly, let's speak to that parent there. First and foremost, yule ambaye anafikiria when they have that child and the child is born, and all of a sudden they realize the child has needs. And in their mindset, they start thinking, my child is bewitched. She's a curse. He's a curse. Encourage a parent there and let them know that children with needs are not that different. And they are not bewitched because there is that mindset. Kuna hii watu wengi wanafikiria mtoto amerogwa. Hii is a family thing, it's a curse. Huyu mtoto she shouldn't have been born. Speak to that parent and encourage them, let them know that special needs children just need extra help and they're not different.
Dear fellow parent, that's a difficult thing to speak into because we are creatures of the community. We value the relationships around us. Tunafurahia wale wametuzingira, wazazi wetu, relatives, the community. When you have a child with special needs, you are expecting the normal child. Ule anatoka na miguu miwili, macho, akiongea, akilia kama wale wengine. But when we get our children and they don't cry like the other children, or they don't begin to walk like the other children, or they don't do what is expected in the community, inside there as a parent, unaanza kukufa. you realize you may not realize this, maybe you may not realize it, but there is a slow death that happens inside you because it is a loss of what you expected. But having the child that we have is a different child. Is not is not is not a wrong child. It's not a bewitched child. It is not a sin that you did. It is not a mistake that you made. It's not a mistake that somebody else did there. Whatever it is, just realize God in his mercies angemzima huyo mtoto na askatoke. But God allowed that child to live, yes. Which means God values that child.
That's right.
That's the first thing you have to share and remind yourself, that you are precious to God. This child is precious to God. But it is also good to be true to yourself and to God and to say, God, huyu hakai kama wale wengine. Mungu nioneshe, nisaidie,
yes.
Nijue vile nitalea huyu mtoto umenipatia. Yes. Hii ni zawadi yangu umenipatia. Sasa nioneshe, nieleze, nioneshe wale watanisaidia tulee huyu mtoto wako. Yes. By the way, that is a very true statement. Indeed. Especially if you take the child as a child of God.
Yes.
Know that even the other children that he has given us, they are gifts of him to us.
That's
so
right.
Even this special child is a gift from God. So mkumbushe tu, Mungu umenipatia hii zawadi, nioneshe vile nitalea huyu mtoto. The same way, by the way, that we go back to the Bible and we say, God gave us the Bible as a manuscript for us to live on earth.
That's right.
So he has given you this baby. He is the best person who knows how to handle this that he has given you. That's so if
right.
it is not you, be very careful. It is not you. Go back to God. Because if you take it as you, you're going to die. That weight is too much. Just remind him, God, this is your gifting. Show me, help me to love and to bring up this child as you would have me do. And that removes the weight from you. Put the weight on God. Removes the weight from your husband. Removes the weight from the government. Removes the weight from everybody around you. So that now you're able to see clearly and you're able to go back to God and say, God, show us, teach us. So now the blame game is no longer there. Is no longer there.
So in a nutshell, what you are telling us, accepting
yes.
is critical.
Yes.
So my people, accepting what God has given you,
yes.
the child that God has blessed you, is critical.
Yes.
Because that is the first step of knowing that you are blessed and that God cannot give you something that he knows you are not able to take care of.
Yes, yes.
For some strange reason, I don't want to go deeper into the Bible, but God gives people ability.
Yes.
And he knows he cannot give you something that you are not able to take care of it.
Yeah.
So, wewe kama ni mzazi uko hapo na umepata mtoto ambaye ako na needs. Mary here is a living testimony because yeye ameweza kuwa na mtoto kama huyo and the child is still alive and in her late 20s. And the child is doing well. Kwa hivyo hata wewe be encouraged. So Mary, mtu asijaribu kudhuru mtoto ama kufanya mtoto mambo mabaya. Speak to them briefly.
Just like every other child, it is wrong to call that child names. It is wrong to look down on that child. It is wrong to abuse the child or mistreat the child. And if we are careful, we will realize it is our pain that we are putting on the child. If God would help us realize that this child is like any other child, and my responsibilities to this child is the same as my responsibility as a parent to the other children who are around me. And I don't know, I just keep going back to the fact that God is the best person to parent with your children. In every situation, be it that you're looking for money, be it that you're looking for an appliance, be it that you're looking for a surgery, be it that you're looking for a teacher, be it that you're looking for a way of teaching the child to go to the toilet, because you cannot talk to him the way you talk to the other children. I remember our daughter Shiko was toilet trained by her sister. I would take them to the toilet at the same time. So whatever circumstance it is that you're struggling with, I believe God has an answer. I believe God has a solution for you. But it is critical that you as a parent have an asking heart, have a teachable spirit, have a heart that is willing to ask for help, so that you don't you don't get frustrated in the effort of making it your effort. It is not your effort. We actually, for special needs children, we go to our traditional setting that mtoto analewa na jamii.
The village.
The village, yes, 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 yes.
That's very important. Kwa hivyo, we families, or we people, if we have children with special needs, and just like my sister Mary is saying here, a child belongs to the village, so it's not like sort of your own child. So getting help is important. Having that teachable spirit is critical. So don't just allow yourself to remain in a solitary place, or you are cocooned. It is important to sort support groups.
Yes, yes.
So that you have
groups,
parent support groups of people with similar needs, so that you can have a social network that you can talk, and you can remove your stress and anxieties from there. And that has helped you, and as a parent.
True.
So briefly, before we wind up this interview, in regards to here in Kenya, how can the government help parents or institutions to develop the system of how children with special needs can be supported and advanced, so that they don't feel like as if they're being left out, or discrimination is creeping in?
I know the government has a very good special needs policy. The implementation is what is the challenge. So I think the first step the government is working on, I know even now, is just dissemination of that policy, such that people know what is in that policy, what is the expectation from that policy, what are things to be put in place for that policy. But at the same time, the government and the community needs to resource the implementation of that policy, because it's another thing to know, it's another thing to be able to actualize what is required. So I think those are the two areas that are critical. Raising the awareness on what needs to be done, and facilitating that which needs to be done too, so that our children with special needs can access education, can be can live meaningful lives in the community. Because education is not just it is, there's the after school. So ideally, the education of the child, which is what is now thankfully happening with the CBC, the education of the child is geared towards the future of the child, not education as a standalone thing. So even with our children with special needs, are you able from day one to see what is the possible future of this child, such that the education of this child is geared towards enabling that child live that future? Yeah. So for example, if we are a family that does business, chances are that child will not go and be employed in a business out there. We need to take an education, that this child through an education that will help that child be engaged in the family business. If the family is farming, for goodness sake, don't try anything else. Teach the child to farm, so that he or she can meaningfully be able to run their own little farm when they get married, or when they get a family of their own. So are we able to help the family from day one to see what is the possible end or future of this child, and to work with that family through that? And the government has done a good job as far as the policy is concerned. Our work as the community is to raise awareness on that policy, work it out. And Jeff, you kept saying this, and I'm so encouraged by it. I think it's important. Work with God.
Yes.
To implement that policy in the school system, in our health system, in churches, where we go to. Are our children included? Are they hearing the same Bible verses? Are they hearing that they are born for a purpose to serve God? Can they serve?
They are not a curse.
Yes, can they serve? Because if you're bringing up this child to always be served, then you're doing something very wrong. But if the child is going through the church, beginning to understand, yes, I was brought here on earth to serve those who God has placed around me. How can I serve them? Even with my special needs, how can I serve them? I think you will be really be meaningfully engaging that child as they go through school.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Issue like here in Nairobi CBD, or in big cities like Mombasa and even in other African countries, big cities, that is, at least we can see something is happening. What about in the rurals? What about in the villages? Those children that are in the villages and unfortunately they've also got needs. Do they have the same privileges, or are they, or how is their status?
Oh no, I will not name villages, but I will say I visited a rural community and I was so devastated because, how can I put this statement? A school's ability to include a child with special needs is actually first and foremost its ability to manage the regular child. Because if you're able to manage the regular child, then you now are able to now begin to adopt facilities and assets and materials to now begin to include the learners with special needs. So if a community is already struggling with basic education for the regular child, then the child with special needs is still at home.
So they're not even in school.
They're not even in school. That is what I saw in a community I visited as late as November last year. The children are still at home. So you've got to start the whole process of somebody in the community spearheading the effort of identifying these children, taking them for medical assessments, getting them placed education-wise, and then finding out, are there resources, are there schools that can accommodate them? Or will it mean that they are moving out of the community? Or are you creating a unit that will support these children? So that is where that community is. And unfortunately, until somebody spearheads that effort, and I'm hoping the church will do that also for that community, the children will stay at home. Because as the community is concerned, this child should have been killed from day one.
Because they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, so then the fact that they're in the house is already a big milestone. So now let's help them remove the children and bring them out and accept them that yes, this is our lot. This is not a cursed child. This is not a child to be killed. But there's a reason. There's a reason. Imagine there's a reason why that child is alive.
Now we have a lot of people that are born with disabilities, and they've done great things.
True.
People that are renowned, that they had special needs, but luckily they had opportunity. So what we are saying, for me, I would say, I think it's critical for the government, like the Kenyan government, especially the docket of education. It's important for the government to think about children with needs. Not every child is born with, the same, but all children are the same and they should not suffer discrimination because they've got needs. So tunauliza the education docket and the Kenyan government, from what Mary is saying, let things be taken, resources and be taken into the rulers, and people that are trained to be sent to do assessments, because that is the first step that you're saying, so that child that is got needs is no longer at home.
Yes.
And provisions have started for them to
go
to school, because that is the only way the community will start to understand, and people also to talk about needs, that children with special needs are not cursed, they are not bewitched, they are just normal children, they just need a little bit of some help. I think this is beautiful. Mary, indeed, wewe unaweza kusema you have seen God even in your own child.
Yes.
And you can tell somebody that indeed with help, with support groups, and with you educating yourself to know how to support your child, that you can do it.
Yes, I believe you can. I know you can. I know you can. Yeah.
So where are you right now with your foundation? And what are your aspirations?
I am at that space of wanting to help that mother raise their child. Be it issues of understanding disability, issues of understanding inclusion, issues of understanding and managing myself, issues of understanding and managing the relationships around me. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we have a professional here who's got the experience, who's got the expertise, and she's, most importantly, she's got the heart, the willing, because she's gone through it. Sasa tafadhali naomba we use Mary as a point of contact. She's already trained many. I've come to know of her because of what she's been doing within the community here in Kenya, and I can only say thank you. So for you, our safeguarding families, you families, men and women of God that are supporting children with needs around the world, especially here in Kenya, Mary is a great person to have contact with, especially kama unajua uko na members of the family that have people with needs, because she can give a lot of support and a lot of advice. Now, mtu akitaka kukuongelesha ama kupata support, ama if an institution wants to invite you to talk and to share your experience and to teach and to train, where can they get you?
I don't know. Best I share my telephone number.
So if you're happy to share your telephone number,
okay,
yeah, we will do that.
You can call 0722, that's the Kenya, 0722 72 5254. Safaricom number.
Yeah, so that's the Safaricom number for Mary, so you can reach her with that number. But I understand you are also looking forward to opening your own social media network.
Yes.
So that you can have a platform.
Yes, I would love to do that. Yes.
That
yes,
you can also start sharing this, credible knowledge, know-how, and information that you have to parents out there. And that is coming very shortly. So, my people, please look out, and when that those social media platform, whether be it Facebook or YouTube, they come through, again we will do an update on this video so that people who are here, wale wazazi ambaye mko hapa Kenya, unaweza kufaidika kutokana na vile Mary anaweza kuwasomesha kuhusu kuelewa watoto ambaye wako na ulemavu, na muelewe ya kwamba hawa watoto sio shida ama hawaja hakuna uchawi ambayo imefanyika na vitu kama hizo. So it's important. So please look out at that very soon. Itafanyika very shortly. Otherwise, thank you so very much. For us, it has been an honor meeting Mary and hearing what is going on here, and especially with deaf and blind and all that. And her experience has really taught us that all things are possible, that we can do all things. All we need is to have that determined heart, and we be resilient, and we stay together as a team. We work as a people and as a community, and as institutions, now also as governments, and our children will enjoy their life regardless of their needs. So until then, I am Jeff from Safeguarding Watoto.
Thank you.